Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse and to another Warehouse interview. Tonight, I would like to welcome Nick Hayden to the channel, British musician, singer, songwriter, guitarist, best known as the founder and original lead vocalist of the late 80s indie rock band, the Darkside. He became a UFO researcher and author, photographer. Please welcome Nick Hayden. Here we go.
Serving up riffs hotter than Hellfire Chili with a beer chaser. Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse and to yet another Warehouse interview. Today, I would like to welcome Nick Hayden to the show. Now, if anybody is keeping track of Grant's Rock Warehouse and what we've played, we did a one band, one artist show on the band The Darkside. Nick here is best known musician, founder, and initial lead vocalist of the band Darkside. So I thought, hey, he reached out to me. I thought, hey, why don't we go and have a show and talk about the band and talk about what he's doing and what he's been doing. And Nick, welcome to the show. How are you?
Well, thank you very much, Grant. Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, it's good to be on. Thanks for inviting me on. Yeah.
So a little bit of background for you. How did you get started in music? I mean, what did you start? Well, give us your background, first of all.
Okay, so well, when I was young, I was in the church choir, believe it or not. So I kind of got into singing, from an early age. I sang at school and everything. And then when I was about sort of 12, I got into the punk thing that came into the UK. And when I was 14, I formed a punk band with a really good friend, a lifelong friend of mine called Melv McCauley, who was one of my neighbours. And we were called The Suspected. And from about 1980 to 84, I was singing in a punk band. We were playing sort of local gigs with another local punk band called Protest, and we played in Northampton with a band called Antisect and local Northampton band Death Sentence. And that's about as far as we really went, apart from the local gigs. And what happened was I was working in the foundry. I left school about 1982, started working in a foundry, and a guy called John Commons started doing me compilation tapes of stuff like the Velvet Underground and the Stooges, the MC5, and a lot of these albums like Nuggets and I think a lot of the 60s, hardly heard of bands like the 60s garage bands, Pebbles and Nuggets. So a lot of compilation albums of very sort of little known garage bands. I was also getting into Frank Zappa at the time and a lot more obscure stuff. So I really wanted to sort of play and do something different. And what happened was I was in another punk band called Total Contempt. I was playing bass for them and we played an event at the town hall. And the Spacemen 3, who are a local band from Rugby, they played there, as did the Cogs of Time, which were like a 60s sort of garage band. They were really into the 60s sort of scene. They were doing a lot of covers of the 60s sort of garage sounds. And a band from Northampton called the Telltale Hearts. And I was really blown away. So from that day onwards, I thought, right, I'm going to get out of the punk thing. I'm going to do something very different. So I went out and bought myself a guitar and got talking to my cousin, Kev Cowan. I didn't know Kev for many years. What happens was I was adopted when I was young, and when I was 10, I found out I was adopted and traced my family, and found out many years later that I had a cousin called Kev Cowan, and so we started chatting one night after I'd been introduced to him in the local pub in Rugby, which was called the Blitz, and he said he'd played guitar, and I said, well, I'm just starting guitar, and he said, do you fancy a jam? So I said, yeah. So Kev started coming down to my parents' house, and we started jamming. And he had a riff, which became a song, Thinking of You. And I wrote some lyrics, and that was the first song that we'd actually put together. And it went really, really well. So we started sort of playing together. And then my girlfriend at the time, a girl called Tuesday Hartland, she was a drummer. So she started tapping out a beat. And then we got an old friend of ours called Stampy from another punk band that was around in Rugby. And he started playing bass. And then another friend came along and said he works in a recording studio, a guy called Graham, and said, do you want to come and do some practicing at the recording studios? We're trying to get people in there, to make a bit of money. So we started rehearsing, started going really well. We recorded like a live demo tape. And a friend of mine, Pete Bassman, who would later be he was from the Spacemen 3. He would later join the Darkside. He was sort of mentoring the band. He sat in on the recording. And what happened was we did this live recording, and as a result, started playing local gigs in the Rugby area, again with the Spacemen 3 and the Telltale Hearts from Northampton. And we played a few events at the town hall. I think they had a band called Loop came and played, and The Perfect Disaster, and a few other bands. And it was going really well. And then Stampy just disappeared one day, never heard from him again. So it just
Stumpy
disappeared.
just disappeared.
Just disappeared off the scene and that.
Well,
So
poor
Pete,
Stumpy.
yeah, well, Peter just finished with the Spacemen 3. He'd done a tour of Europe and he had a bit of spare time on his hands. He left the Spacemen 3. So he decided to play bass guitar for us. So, and I've known him for quite a long time because he was from the local area. So he started playing bass guitar. And basically we went in to sort of do a demo. And just before we did the second demo, Kev Cowan, my cousin, decided he was going to leave the band. I was like, oh no. So we got another friend of mine, an old school friend called Dave Selby, and to play some rhythm guitar because I was playing lead guitar and singing. We recorded a demo, and as a result of that, we started getting quite a few gigs. And then Beggars Banquet, the guy from Beggars Banquet, Roger, he had actually been in another friend of ours' car, Craig Wagstaff, and he heard the band, said, "Who's that?" And Craig said, "Oh, that's the Darkside." And before I knew it, he rang up. He said, "I'm from Beggars Banquet. You know, we really like what you're doing." So it's like, wow. So, you know, and then what happened was we knew then we were going to have to record another demo and do some serious gigs. And we've got gigs coming in all over the place. And Dave Selby was committed to going to college. So he decided to leave the band. So he left us without a guitarist again. So I asked Kev Cowan, Kev had gone off and joined the rugby band, the Cogs of Time. And I said, please, can you come back and join our band? Because we've just got a record contract looming. So Kev decided to come back and join. So at that point, it was me singing and playing guitar, Kev Cowan playing guitar. We had Pete Bassman Bain playing bass, and then Roscoe on drums, Stuart Roswell, known as Roscoe. And it all took off from there, basically. We did a 6-track demo for Beggars Banquet, and they signed us on the strength of that. Which led to the 12-inch single, which was the Highrise Love, if you see that.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
That's a Highrise Love single, which is 12-inch. So we went in and recorded that, and we started doing a tour, the Highrise Love tour, playing with some pretty major venues throughout the UK. And it kind of took off from there, really. We got pretty well known. The Spacemen carried on for a little bit with some new members. And then I think Jason Pierce, he ended up forming Spiritualized. He went off with his band Spiritualized. The other guy, Pete Kember, he went off and did his sort of project. So, you know, 3 bands at the time from Rugby, you know, all stood in sort of similar.
That's amazing. I think Nick, I'm not sure how many records Specialized put out, but do I have those? Spiritualized.
They've put an awful lot out, yeah.
Did they? I think I've got a couple of those CDs. Were they like on RCA or something?
I think they've been on a number of different labels.
Okay.
Well, funny enough, I heard a song the other day by them that I really liked, Straight and the Narrow. It's taken from an album around 2002, I think. It's probably my favourite song. But we started sort of playing live at the time, and there's a lot of misconceptions. I mean, a lot of people say, the Darkside started, you know, in sort of 1988 time, 1989, 90, but we actually started back in 86.
Okay.
And another misconception, it says actually on Wikipedia, is that I played drums for the Spacemen 3. Now, actually, what happened was I sat in on the drums one afternoon and as an audition, because as I was starting the early Darkside, they needed a drummer because their drummer, Natty, had left, Natty Brooker. So I decided to see if I could, you know, be a drummer for them. But it went quite well. I sat in and did a few songs with them, but obviously wanted to commit to the Darkside because by that time we'd started getting gigs and I was really interested in taking that as far as I could. So the original lineup of the Darkside had changed quite a bit just within a few years. You know, we'd gone from, you know, Stampy was in it, he left, Dave Selby was in it, then he left. My girlfriend, Tuesday Hartland, she left as well. So the standard sort of lineup was really myself, guitar singing, Kev Cowan playing guitar, Pete Bassman Bain on bass, and then Roscoe on drums. And that stayed pretty constant for a couple of years. We were playing gigs all over the place. Played a huge festival in 1989 down in Cornwall called Treorgie Tree Fair. It was pretty infamous, that was. I think they was hoping about 10,000 people had turned up, and I think 40,000 turned up. It got so out of hand that the security decided to do a runner. It was just a big mishmash of drugs and alcohol, and the early rave music was coming in. And
so was that the biggest gig you had played up until that time?
It was. We played House to Music Fair, which was quite big, but not as big as the Treorgie Tree Fair.
I mean, what was that like for the I mean, that had to be awfully exciting. I mean, just to be.
There was a lot of big names there, like Hawkwind were playing there, and a band called Carter, the Unstoppable Sex Machine, and But we were on the main night. There's another band called the Hypnotics. We played a lot of gigs with them. They were from High Wycombe, and they were also signed to Beggars Banquet. We signed to Situation 2, which was a subsidiary sort of thing of Beggars Banquet. And most bands signed to that first before they actually signed to Beggars Banquet. So we're playing a lot of gigs with the Hypnotics, and they actually played at the Treewoggy Tree Fair. And we just set about kind of playing a lot of local gigs, and we started touring around the country. We did like a little tour of Cornwall, and it was good fun. But what happened was we recorded a single, the Highrise Love single, and there's actually a video on YouTube. The video we made for Highrise Love single that we did for the record company, that's actually on YouTube, as are the songs separately. And the Rugby was a very strange place. There was the guys from Spacemen 3 started this club, which they called the Reverberation Club, and it was on, I think it was every Thursday evening in the back room of a pub called the Blitz. Now all the kind of freaky people, dope smokers, everybody there would pile into the back of this place, and the bands would be playing, and everyone would be there getting stoned, wasted and stuff. And it didn't take long for the local drug squad to become interested in the place. And the drug squad, there was two particular coppers, Fletcher and McLeod, and they acted like they were in New York, detectives. They would bust anyone who had long hair or looked slightly different, and they were a nightmare. They were, and they basically started focusing on our band, the Darkside, because our manager was involved in a few bits and bobs. I mean, he's passed away now. I don't want to say too much, but they were after him for quite a while, and and he would take the piss out of them. Basically, he would goad them. And they showed a lot of interest in our band, and we'd get stopped now and then. Different things would happen. And then one morning after a gig in Coventry, we all got busted. They did like Operation Darkside.
Operation Darkside.
Apparently, that's what they called it. Yeah, I've since found out, and I got busted. About 12 coppers busted me, and we all ended up with. I'm not going to say any names. We all ended up with quite a few drug charges came from that, and I ended up getting put in prison. They trumped up the drug charges to me. They couldn't find anything at the time, and they did me for a load of letters they found to a friend of mine, a girlfriend of mine in the Isle of Wight, and saying that I'd sent spliffs over to her and different things like that. Something pretty petty.
They could do that just because through a letter, and they didn't have anything.
No, and they tried to falsify stuff. They were a nightmare, and I ended up getting put in prison anyway. Halfway through the Highrise Love tour. So basically, we started off doing the tour to promote this 12-inch single. I ended up getting banged in prison. It was only for like about 6 weeks or so. And then I got out of prison, went on tour with the band, carried on. But by this time, things were falling apart. We were due to go and record the second single.
I have a question. So you're in prison.
Yeah.
Oh my God! But what did the band just go on hiatus? Did they continue to play?
Oh, for about 6 weeks.
Did they replace you with somebody? Yeah,
no,
you had gigs. You had gigs.
They kind of had to stop, really.
Okay.
It's not a lot they could really do. So I came out and carried on the tour, and we were due to record the second single. I mean, we've done a lot of gigs. We played with a lot of pretty big names. I mean, I was into a band called Wayne County Electric Chairs. And the lead singer Wayne County had a sex change, became Jane County Electric Chairs, and we played a couple of dates with them, and quite a few other bands. We played with Mudhoney, Mudhoney, and Mega City 4, and a band called Died Pretty. I think they might have been Australian. Played with some pretty big names. It was all going pretty well.
Well, hang on, Nick. I have to back up. So you were in prison, but did anything happen to that manager? Did he go to prison or anything? Because it was his fault that the reason that they were looking at the dark side.
They had a lot of interest in him at the time. Yeah, and he was. I mean, I don't want to say too much, but
no, I'm just saying. But
they had a big interest in him, and that kind of made them get a bit of an interest in us. And they were trying to make They didn't like me as well. They really had it in for me. They also gave me a suspended sentence.
Hold on, Nick. Why did they have it in for you?
I don't know. They just didn't like me for some reason.
It's not a funny situation.
No, it is.
But when you look back, I guess you have to look at it.
Yeah.
In a certain way,
pretty hard. I mean, it wasn't safe to walk around there. You was always having to keep an eye out to see if you're being followed by them. It was a small town mentality. You see, and they used to come in, and they had like loads of people who were sort of acting as grasses for them. You had to really watch who you talk to and what was going on. It wasn't a nice place, and it started really getting me down. Now I'd got out of prison, resumed doing the Highrise Love tour, And we were due to go in and record a second single, which ended up being Waiting for the Angels, which was a song we were already doing. And it was a slightly not so heavy. These songs on this 12-inch, the Highrise Love EP, it's got Can't Think Straight and Killing Time. They were quite hard, sort of rocky songs. Whereas Waiting for the Angels was based around a keyboard riff. It was a lot more sort of an angelic sound. And that was due to be the first single. And the song we were working on, another song, which ended up being the B-side, was Sweet Vibrations, which in those days we're still working on it. And what happened was I just didn't get, as soon as I came out of prison, I ended up with nowhere to live. I was living in a caravan. I'd given my job up by this time, so didn't have a lot of money. I sold my house, so I had a little bit of money. But the thing is, I just couldn't concentrate. I was trying to find myself. I was feeling spiritually kind of fucked, to be quite honest with you. And
well, how old were you at this point, Nick? How old were you?
24.
You were only 24. And look at all this that just happened to you. I can only imagine.
Yeah. In about 6 months, we played True Tree Fair, got back, got busted. And then before I knew it, I was doing time in a prison. I mean, in a maximum security prison.
Maximum security?
Yeah, which was a holding prison, a place called Winston Green. It was like a big prison in Birmingham. Then they moved me to a semi-open prison, and it's what's known as a holding prison. Most people end up going there to start with before they categorize you. But the whole thing was full on. And, I didn't really have a lot of time in there for writing songs. I was kind of pretty zoned out with it all. It was a lot to take in. But at this time, I was still very much into the band, and I thought, okay, I'll get out from prison, get on with the band, and try and keep away from the police. But what happened was a lot of frustration started coming in. I just couldn't seem to concentrate and write new material because we had an album looming. They had an album, All That Noise, which was due to be our first album. And quite a few of the songs on that we were already doing. A song like She Don't Come and Angels, Waiting for the Angels, and a few other songs. But it got to the point where I just couldn't take anymore. And what happened was we played a gig in Oxford one night, a pretty good place, the Jericho Tavern in Oxford. And what happened was I met a girl there and got quite friendly with her. Her name was Teresa, and she was a guitarist for all-girl band, Oxford band, Death by Crimpers. And I decided to take a 3-day break from the band because we had some time off. So I stayed in Oxford because my sister lives there. Ended up hanging out with Teresa, met loads of people, and it just seemed like a really nice place, Oxford. And what happens was I went back to Rugby, sat there thinking, what am I going to do? I was sick of the band, I was sick of this and that. So I just packed my bags up and moved back to Oxford. Basically let the band down. We still had about 4 more gigs to do for the Highrise Love tour, and I basically just walked out and off I went and didn't come back to Rugby for about a year. I came back to visit. So I dropped the band in the ship, basically. I just walked out prior to recording the second single and an album, and it just got too much for me. I just couldn't take anymore, and that's what went on. I think in Wikipedia it says something like, I freaked out before a gig in Oxford, but that wasn't the case. I actually played the gig in Oxford. We went down pretty well, but I just had enough. I just didn't have much peace of mind. Everything was going a bit crazy.
Did you feel like, Nick, did you feel like you almost like had a nervous breakdown? I wasn't
far off, mate. I wasn't far off. I'd fallen out with my best mate at the time, a good mate of mine called Nick. I'd fallen out with him, which was even worse. And then I was just a mess, to be quite honest with you. I was drinking too much. I was, smoking a lot of dope at the time. I mean, I'm totally teetotal nowadays. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't take drugs, I don't do anything like that. Just want to put that forward for the record. I've been pretty clean for many, many years now, but I was totally losing the plot, to be quite honest with you.
Yep.
And the last thing on my mind was writing material for a band. So I decided to leg it to Oxford, and I said, right, that's it. I'm never going to be in a band ever again, ever. And then, funnily enough, within 2 months of being in Oxford, I was round a friend's house I'd made, and I heard some music coming from downstairs. And I said, what's going on? They said, there's a local band rehearsing downstairs. I thought, go and have a look. Went downstairs. They said, a bloody singer hasn't turned up again and again. And they said, who are you? I said, I'm Nick Hayden from the Darkside. They was like, oh, bloody hell, do you want to jam with us? So started jamming.
There you go.
We formed a band, Flite 118, and within a couple of months we were playing. I was fronting a new band and playing all around Oxfordshire, and ended up supporting Spiritualized in 1992 when they played Oxford. So, despite saying that I was never ever going to be in another band again, I ended up fronting a new band, Flite 118,
And
the
so
slight,
you got
yeah,
into this new band. Did
yeah.
that really, how did that what kind of effect did that have on your emotions? And,
But,
did that like, well,
yeah,
wow, I mean, you probably took some time
yeah,
off, you've regrouped.
yeah.
And
I got
after
myself a
that,
job as well. I ended up working for a
oh,
big book
that'll
publisher,
help.
um, and basically, all of a sudden, my creative flow started up again. And
Mhm.
before I know it, I'd written about 4 or 5 songs. And there's quite a few songs, old Darkside songs, that the Darkside stopped doing. So I started putting those into the set list. And before we knew it, we were playing. And a local band called Ride from Oxford, they said, "Do you want to come and support us at the Town and Country Club?" They were pretty
Isn't,
big.
is that the same ride that I'm thinking of?
From 1990s, from Oxford, they're a pretty big band. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
they
there's
put
only
out
one band
some
called Ride.
great
Yeah.
records. Great
Yeah.
records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they were obviously from Oxford. They said, "Do you want to come and support us at the Town and Country Club?" So we ended up playing gigs with Ride. We played for about a year and a half. I think we were just gigging and gigging and gigging, and then in the end, it all just kind of fell apart. Ended up getting similar problems to before. Some of the people were drinking too much. Some of them were taking drugs. There's a lot of homelessness going on, and the whole thing kind of fell apart. And that was it again. It was like back to square one, really, in a new town, which I enjoyed because Oxford was full of university students and there's a different caliber of people.
Mhm.
Whereas Rugby was very dark and grim, and they call it Drugby. I mean, it got the name Drugby for God's sake. I won't go into that too much, but Oxford, by comparison, was a much better place.
Mhm. Now,
So.
did the new band? Did you guys put out anything? Did you release any
Um,
singles or anything?
No, no, there's some
Mm.
stuff on YouTube. We recorded some tracks live at the Jericho Tavern and also live supporting Ride, and some of that stuff's on. I've got a YouTube channel with some of that on. It's
Oh,
Hayes 66, HYZE 66. I think I can
okay.
send you some links.
Well,
Um,
send me some things, and I'll put it. Ladies and gentlemen, who's watching this at the moment, I'll put those links down below so you can
yeah,
go to Nick's channel and check that out. So,
yeah,
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 just send me that, and then I'll put it down
yeah. I'll
below.
do that. So basically, that was it. Basically, I said, right, that's it. My music days are over, and so I didn't really do anything for a while. And then in 1994, I met a woman, ended up getting married, and she was an Australian. Within a couple of years, we went out to Australia, and I formed another band out in Australia. Started playing, but didn't really go anywhere because we ended up moving to another part of Australia. It all went a
Mhm.
bit, tits up, as they say. Anyway, we came back eventually to England, and I met a guy one day who I worked with, and he said, "Do you want to come round to my house for a cup of tea and a chat and stuff?" I said, "Okay." Went round, and I met his sister was living with a guy called Ronnie Brumfitt, and this Ronnie Brumfitt, he was a brilliant guitarist, and before we knew it, me and Ronnie were jamming. And my best mate at the time, Phil, well, he's still my best mate. He was an ex-drummer of a band called Sister Freak in Oxford, and he's a really good drummer. And by this time, he'd got recording equipment and he'd got like a keyboard and drum machine. So we formed what later became known as the Red Bamboo. What happened is my sister had been living out in Cairo, and I got to go out and visit Cairo, and I really got taken by Egyptian music,
Mhm.
and I really wanted an Eastern kind of Egyptian slant on the music that I was into. So that I really wanted to do. So, and Ronnie had the same idea. So we formed this band called the Red Bamboo, and we only ever recorded studio songs, but there's 5 tracks by the Red Bamboo also on that Hayes 66 YouTube site.
Mhm.
Ronnie had like a little studio set up in his down below. He had like a little room underneath the main house, and we recorded quite a lot of stuff there. We never actually went live with that. So we did that for about 3 or 4 years. I think it was 1999 through to about 2002. And then that kind of just fell to pieces, really. Various relationships. I split up with my wife. Ronnie split up with his missus, and Phil split up with his missus, and kind of. So
Goodness
that was
gracious.
kind of like, yeah. And I carried on playing acoustic gigs
Mm.
down in Oxford on an acoustic night. I'd go down and put a guitar around my neck and just play acoustically for a little bit. And that was it, really. I kind of stopped doing that, and that was the last thing I did with music, to be quite honest with you. Perhaps
So
about
the
2003. And
so
I gave up music altogether.
oh well, you
So
probably still play guitar though, don't you?
I still play guitar. Yeah, well, funny enough, I'm thinking of getting a banjo. I've already got into bluegrass banjo, actually.
Well,
Discovered
are you still writing music though? Because I would consider
No,
no, you just you
no,
don't do it. Did you look at
I've got
writing?
acoustic guitar. I like to play and sing sometimes. I just kind of do it for myself. But you got to realize when I started the Darkside, I was 20. I'm 60 in a couple of months. Like 40 years has gone by. And
Hmm.
I'm not getting any
Well,
younger. And but I still do find myself writing ideas down. But as for being in a band again, I don't think that's going to happen.
so do
But
you think probably, if you were in a band again, I'm just saying, I'm not saying you're going to, but do you think
mm,
just because you have like I don't want to say a purpose, but being in a band kind of gets you motivated or maybe a goal? It sounds like to me that you need to
yeah,
be in a band or something like that, where you
well,
guys are producing something, you have a goal, and then maybe the songwriting juices start flowing,
yeah.
you
Well,
know?
something totally different happened. In 2008, Christmas Day evening, I was walking my two dogs locally, freezing cold night, pitch dark, and I saw a UFO a low altitude UFO at about 200 feet, which I followed. And now this UFO wasn't a craft; it was a creature. All right,
Okay.
and this whole thing freaked me out. So I set out on a quest really to find out more about what was going on. And I discovered that a guy in the 1950s called Trevor James Constable actually managed to photograph biological UFOs, living UFOs in the Mojave Desert of Southern California using infrared film.
Hmm.
So I basically spent every bit of money I'd got on infrared cameras and I set out on a quest to try and capture infrared UFOs. Now, I did that basically till about, well, I've done it for 15 years. And as a result, I wrote a book called
Oh,
Quest.
cool. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, what happened was I started doing this, and I got pretty well known for it. I've spent the last 15 years doing internet shows. I started a Quest for the Invisibles website.
Hmm.
The book was called Quest for the Invisibles, and what happened was I managed to capture some really, really good photographic evidence in the infrared and the ultraviolet of living biological UFOs. Some of them are actually fish shaped with actual fins on them, actual proper fish, not like skyfish where you get like a rod shape with bits which are insects, but
Hmm.
these are actually proper fish-like beings and a lot of assorted other things and also paranormal type things. So I did that. I've been doing that for the last 15 years. I've done dozens and dozens of shows on the internet in the USA and in the UK. And I've also been talking at UFO and paranormal conferences around the UK for the last 15 years.
Wow.
All of that is on YouTube. And I've also written 4 papers, scientific papers on the paranormal and UFOs, biological UFOs, living UFOs, which have basically been published online in a scientific journal. And last year I had a documentary crew here at my place filming for 3 or 4 days. All about my work with Quest for the Invisibles, and there should be a documentary coming out sometime this year. So I've been pretty busy with that. That kind of replaced the music, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
I started actually recording in 2010. I saw the UFO on Christmas Day evening 2008, but it took me a year to actually get all my equipment together. But that's pretty much took over from the music with me.
All right,
Um,
Nick, I've got a story for you.
mm,
Okay. 1982. I'll remember it like I'll never forget. We're driving. We had a 74 Super Beetle. We were driving down Center Street, beautiful scenic Marion, Ohio. I was probably a junior in high school. I had my buddy Bill, my buddy John with me, and we jammed. We had like a little band when we were kids. You know how it works. My mom, we're going down Center Street. My mom happened to look up. She went, "What is that?" We all looked out, and there was a I swear to God, Nick, I'll never forget
they're
it.
out there. They're out there.
There was I'm going to say UFO hovering. I couldn't tell you how high it was, but I
Mm,
could see the shape of it. It was like this, and it came up like kind of like, well, kind of like, it's weird. Anyway, it was hovering, and it was just
right.
kind of going, down the street like that, and then all of a sudden it just went,
Right. Yeah.
no
Yeah.
sound,
Mm,
just took up towards the heavens instantaneously.
yeah. 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 Mm. Yeah.
I just kind of remember, of course, it was lit. The skies were, bright blue. I don't remember any cloud cover, but it was very bright out. So the bottom of it looked very brown, I guess, because this was like probably 3, 4 in the afternoon, maybe. And I've told people about this story before.
It's life-changing.
It was life-changing, and we all saw it, and we looked at each other like, what was that?
Yeah. I know what it's like. I mean, the thing I saw, I thought it was a craft, but it was actually a creature. It was breathing. It was about 200 foot above me, going about 3 miles an hour, and it was in the mist. And every now and then, there's thinner bands of mist or fog, and you'd see it. And I followed it for about 25 minutes, and I started to get really freaked out. And this was Christmas Day evening. I wanted to knock on everybody's door and say, look, UFO, but I thought they'd probably call the police.
Or something. What is this?
Yeah. So, and
Ghost of Christmas Past?
Yeah, well, if that had been just a normal craft, I could have got my head around it, but because it looked like a bioluminescent life form from the deep ocean, I just didn't know what I'd seen. And luckily for me, I discovered this guy called Trevor James Constable, who basically filmed, well, from 1958 through to the 1970s, he'd actually captured living UFOs in the infrared. They were in the invisible. So that's when I went forward and started using camcorders and cameras to actually capture my own evidence, which I did for 15 years. I've only recently stopped it. I captured a lot of evidence. My cat Roy died, and I started going out every night and filming at his gravesite in the pitch dark, asking for a sign that he was still there. And a snake-like entity came out. This whole gravesite lit up. It was invisible. He was only captured on camera, and the whole gravesite lit up. And an invisible snake-like creature came right out up to head height. And I captured other things. That's on my website.
Okay.
questforinvisibles.co.uk. And then all hell broke loose. I started getting paranormal stuff happening at my house. I mean, actually, this property I'm on at the moment, I've got almost an acre of land and got like a woodland area. Started getting like knocks on the door at 3 o'clock in the morning, footsteps up the stairs. I live on the same land as my sister. I live next door to my sister. We're on the same land, and 3 o'clock in the morning, she'd hear the doorbell ringing. I'd hear it. She'd hear me calling her. I'd hear her calling me, even though we weren't. And it just got worse and worse, getting like light bulbs flashing on and off. And I had to kind of step back from this work with Quest for Invisibles, because I found out that basically the whole UFO thing and the paranormal are very intertwined. A lot of the things I captured, which I thought were craft, were actual living entities that were taking the form of discs and things, and then they would change into something else. And a lot of them were telepathic. I got to the point where I'd go out and I'd suddenly feel like somebody was talking to me, and I'd take photographs without even having to say anything. I used a Geiger counter to actually detect things in the invisible. I'd get a Geiger counter hit. My dogs would bark and make weird noises. I'd take a photo and I'd catch something. So that's pretty much what I've been doing for 15 years. Pursuing Quest for the Invisibles. I'm pretty well known worldwide now. I mean, I've been on just about 3 of the biggest shows in America talking about, I've been on them twice, actually. I've probably done about well over 30 show appearances on the internet. So I've written these two-part papers. I've got my book published, and I've also, a friend of mine made a little documentary about me as well, and that's all on YouTube. So I pretty much left the music for this whole Quest for the Invisibles thing. I've probably been more successful at this than anything else.
Well, let me ask you this, because I watch a lot of Joe Rogan, and of course Joe Rogan loves all this stuff. What do you think about the whole TikTok?
Oh, the Tic Tac thing. Yeah.
Tic Tac thing, where there's like footage, and these, F-14 fighter pilots have gotten video, and the Tic Tac will just go straight into the water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, a lot of these living entities look like Tic Tacs as well. I've seen a lot of things. I've seen these things moving in groups. I mean, I've captured stuff in the sky. I've taken photographs of things moving in groups like that. But what happened was I did a lot of this work. I didn't do it under the name Nick Hayden. I got the name Hayes as a nickname, Haze. And what I did, I wrote my book under the name Nick Hayes, Hayes, because I wanted to keep it separate from everything to do with the Darkside and that. So, and most people know me as Nick Hayes. So the Quest for Invisibles thing I've done under the name Nick Hayes. And I think I sent you a message from my Facebook thing. If you look at my Facebook, all my shows are on that Facebook page.
Okay.
There's links to all my shows, and it explains an awful lot on there. But so I've never really gone back into the music. I mean, I've been in touch with a few of the guys. I mean, I've talked to Kev quite a bit over the years. I mean, actually, he's my cousin. I haven't talked to him for a while, but I was in touch with Pete. I rang Pete Baseman up. We got back in touch a couple of years ago. We chatted for a couple of hours one night. But there was quite a lot of hard feeling.
Well, when you just leave the band and just kind of walk out. Well,
yeah, well, Pete took over singing, and he wasn't really a singer. Although he did all right. I like quite a lot of his stuff. I actually like. You have to learn pretty damn quick to sing, and that kind of been easy.
Well, I think all that. Well, let me ask you this about that all that noise. Are you playing on any of that stuff, or
No,
have
no.
you already left?
I'd already left at that point. Just before that, but some of the songs we were doing, "Waiting for the Angels," we were doing, and "She Don't Come," and a lot of the other songs we were actually jamming, and the whole sort of sound of the Darkside was changing at that point. And I think after that, Roscoe didn't want to drum anymore, so he went on to guitar. And I think then he wanted to go on to keyboards. I think they got Craig Wagstaff in to play drums. So the whole lineup thing changed again. But it must have been very hard for the lads. They went in and they pulled the album off, and Pete, Pete never sang before, and he had to pretty much get up there and sing live and sing, and it kind of been easy. I mean, I was in the choir, I've sang my whole life, and he had to get his shit together and pretty much sing, and quite a lot of stuff I actually like. It's quite a few songs I actually really do like. The song "All That Noise," the actual song "All That Noise," I think is really, really good. I really like his voice on that, and that "Love in a Burning Universe." So I think his voice is nice on that.
Yeah.
And he went on, of course, to do Alpha Stone. He was in a band called Alpha Stone, and Roscoe went on to do this psychedelic Ubik thing that he did, and I think Kev actually played guitar for Spiritualized, I think, at Glastonbury once, but I don't think Kev's not really gone on and done much musically. I don't think. I haven't spoken to him for a while, but yeah, it was pretty bitter, the whole sort of feeling between us. But I got to the point where I just had enough. I've been fronting the Darkside from summer 1986 through till mid-May 1990, and the whole thing was just too much for me. I just had enough of it, to be quite honest with you.
The thing is, being persecuted by the police.
Yeah,
and that would put a whole bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah,
it's almost like the band. It's almost like the band. I don't want to say they were cursed, but I mean, to be persecuted by the police cannot help dynamics within the group. It can't be you just like
the constant paranoia.
Yeah, how is that going to work for creativity? I can't imagine.
It doesn't. I mean, I was the main songwriter at one point, and for a lot of the time, and it destroyed my creativity. I lost a lot of weight. I wasn't eating properly. I was probably drinking too much and doing other things I shouldn't have done. And but I was just trying to survive and cope. I was losing the plot big time, and it was just I almost had a breakdown. I mean, maybe I did have a breakdown. I don't know.
I'd say I would. If you didn't, I'd be surprised.
But I'd broken up with my girlfriend of many years. Ended up sort of homeless just about, and then ended up getting put in prison, and then the whole thing was just too much, and then coming out and touring with the band, it just got very full on for me. And a lot of people ask me if I regret leaving the Darkside, and in some ways I kind of do. But they went on to do some things, and I went on to do other things, and I'm quite happy with the path I've taken in life. Really, I don't like to regret anything I've done in life, because I think you just do things at any given moment, things that you really you feel you want to do. You go off on a certain path, and I try not to regret anything I've done in life. And I'm doing okay now. I'm quite well known within the UFO circles. I did a big talk at Glastonbury Symposium last July, which went down really well. A lot of the stuff I've done is actually online. I've got a really nice girlfriend. She's very understanding and very supportive of all the work I've done with Quest of the Invisibles. And we talk for hours and hours about this kind of subject. It's just nice to have somebody that you can really relate to, and it just makes life that much better for me.
So is the book still available?
The book's issued by the Book Tree, pretty big book publisher.
Okay.
Actually, Trevor James Constable, that's his book publisher. He's actually dead now. He passed away, Trevor James Constable. And this is actually dedicated to him. This was published a few months after he died. But it's called Quest for the Invisibles. If anyone's interested in this, just put Nick Hayes' Quest for the Invisibles into Google, and you'll get everything coming up. You get my website, you get all the videos I've made. You get all my shows that I've done, all my live shows that I've done talks at, and there's loads and loads of stuff. 15 years full of stuff I've been doing with Quest of the Invisibles.
Amazing.
I've probably made it bigger. Well, not that I've been trying to make it. I just do what I do in life. I don't think, I want to make it and be a big name. I don't care about any of that. I just do what I do because I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, I mean, Pete's doing this. I think Pete Bain, Bassman, he's still doing. I think he still does a solo thing now and then. I see a few things on Facebook. I don't think Roscoe's doing that much. Roscoe was playing a few solo gigs, but I wish those guys all the best. I mean, there's a lot of hard feeling when I left, and I can kind of understand that. But I've actually left them with a record deal. I mean, Beggars Banquet signed the band really because of the songs. A lot of the songs that I'd written, the early Darkside songs. We got a really good contract with them. To do quite a few albums and singles, and I just walked away and left those guys to it. And they carried on. I think they got dropped after about the third album, I think, or something.
I think they only put out 2 things.
Yeah, I think another album. I think they released
Psychedelicide Suburbia, 1991.
Yeah, and they did another one. I think something.
But I think that was a live album. That was. I don't know if they did any studio stuff. I think just the one.
Yeah, I think they did some studio stuff. They released it on another label, their own label. I think they put out
Melomania.
Melomania, that was the one. Yeah. But I think they were sort of starting to fall apart by that point. I think Roscoe was wanting to do his own solo thing, I think, and Pete eventually went off and did Alpha Stone, and he's done some quite good stuff with Alpha Stone. But I say I've been in touch with Pete. I had a good natter to him a year or so ago. I think we talked for nearly 2 hours. So we seem to sort of get on okay, and it is a shame really because we could have gone a lot further. But
sure. Stuff
happens in life, and I'm quite happy with my life now. I'm probably more happy with my life now than I have been for many years, and.
Well, I know you weren't. Were any of your songs on All That Noise, or did they basically?
No. Basically, we started writing "If She Don't Come." I think that was originally written by Pete, and I added some lyrics. "Waiting for the Angels." We both wrote some lyrics for that.
Yeah.
They virtually had to come up with a whole load of new songs. The only songs that I've recorded were the 3 on the Highrise Love EP.
Okay.
Which is Highrise Love, Killing Time, and I Can't Think Straight. They were the 3 songs that I recorded, which came out. And there are various demos. I've actually got some demos, tape demos of early stuff, which I might get digitalized at some point.
Yeah, people would like to hear that.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right.
Bit of an interesting life, really, with all that. It's I started off, as a musician, ended up being a UFO photographer and an author. It's totally.
Well, Nick,
totally
you never
crazy.
know what path you're going to take. When you're 25, 24, you never know what's going to happen.
Wonders of life, eh?
Wonders of life. Yeah. All right. I guess we can wrap this dog up. Those links that Nick talked about, they can be seen down below. Give Nick some love. Go check out the 2 EPs. Check out the EPs that Darkside did.
Yeah, there's a 12-inch single. The Highrise Love EP. That's Highrise Love EP with Highrise Love, Can't Think Straight, and Killing Time. There's also a video, the Highrise Love. We made a promotional video for that, which is on YouTube, which shows the whole band. We did that. It's quite a good video actually. And then there's also stuff I've done with Flite 118 and the stuff I've done with Red Bamboo, which I'll send you links for.
Sure, please do.
And if anyone's interested in the UFO or paranormal side of my work, then just Google Nick Hayes Quest for the Invisibles, and you'll come up with it all. I'll send you some links.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that.
All right, cool. Excellent. Yeah. Well, Nick, I appreciate talking with you. This has been fun. Yeah. I'm glad everything turned out all right. And I wish you all the best. Everybody, please check out Nick's links down below. Give him some love. Check out his Facebook page. Check out his YouTube channel. Check out his books. Nick, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you. No, thank you for getting me on the show. It's been a pleasure for me as well.
Fun. All right, we'll be doing more stuff in the Warehouse. Please like, subscribe. You know how it works, ladies and gentlemen, the Warehouse. Nick, have a good one. We will talk to you later.
Thank you.